Welcome back. I'm Chris Temple. I'm joined today by my old friend Mike Rowley. He is the president and CEO of Stillwater Critical Minerals. How you doing, Mike?
Very well. Good to see you again.
Well, it's good to see you, and we'll see one another in person inside of a month now as we're recording this. When you're on one of the panels at the Better in Our Backyards Mining and Energy Expo. Here on the screen, folks, is the information about that. In the notes accompanying this video, for those of you who have not signed up yet, we'll have a link so that you can sign up. Very exciting lineup, not only of good companies. We're going to give you an introduction to Mike's company, Stillwater Critical Minerals, here in just a second. But we've got just announced Kate McGregor, who is the Deputy Secretary of the Interior, deputy, of course, to the Secretary Doug Burgum, is going to be our main keynote speaker on the Thursday evening. We've got other federal representatives, we've got governors, we've got regulators, lots of companies, lots of different people and personalities coming. And of course, all of it over making things happen again in America. The president says, "Make America great again." That's an understatement. We have a lot of work to do to bring back to within our own four walls a lot of industries that we long since jettisoned over the years. And now we're realizing that, hey, we got to do some of these things ourselves. But anyway, we want to give you a quick introduction to Stillwater today before we have the expo and before Mike is there. Stillwater Critical Minerals, in fact, is one of the recommendations of mine in the National Investor Newsletter. As you see here on a screen, you can find it on the Toronto Venture Exchange under the symbol PGE. And here in the US on the OTCQB, it's PGEZF. And Mike has done a great job of putting together a good portfolio of projects, but by far and away the flagship is the Stillwater West project. And Mike, tell everybody that doesn't know about it what the location is, first of all, within the state of Montana.
Oh, yeah, southern Montana, and we're
Okay.
fortunate to share the Stillwater Complex, storied, famous American critical minerals providing rocks, with Sibanye-Stillwater, and they're producing critical minerals complex.
Well, and what's interesting, and one of the things that wowed me, and I know other people in the recent years that we've all become familiar with this project, Sibanye-Stillwater that owns pretty much, the north part of you, if you go east to west, the north part of this valley, and you're everything to the south of what their property line is, so to speak. They're chiefly platinum and palladium, and it's not exactly a low cost mine. And what's phenomenal about what you have is it's almost like a different world in a way geologically. You've already got, in fact, an existing published resource estimate of 1.6 billion pounds when you add up nickel and cobalt and copper. You've got almost 4 million ounces of platinum group metals yourself with some gold thrown in there as well. What caused that? And how did you guys ever first find out that this ground was so different and much more diverse and arguably more economic than what Sibanye-Stillwater has?
It's actually just history. We're bringing Bushveld parallels from South Africa, the mighty Bushveld igneous complex, to similar rocks in Montana. The JM Reef deposit that is now being mined by Sibanye, and as you did a good summary of it, it's freakishly high in palladium platinum. It directly correlates to the mighty Marinsky Reef of the Bushveld, which is 80% of the world's platinum. We simply have what's well known in these layered magmatic systems, which these are both examples of. We simply have the Platte Reef to their reef. It's well known. In fact, Anglo American has been mining that for nickel and PGEs and copper in South America on the Bushveld since 1993. Somehow that wasn't pursued in Montana, and that really is what we've done. We worked with the local, Justin Madreau, to tie up the ground in 2017, and we've simply been applying those parallels ever since. It's brownfields project. It's been drilled in the past. It's even been mined in the past. But these bigger South African mine models have never been brought in. And you're absolutely right about the commodity suite. We're bringing a more diverse suite of commodities and also a wider mining width. And if you look at Ivanhoe's Platte Reef project, those projected economics can apply probably to what we're doing in Montana. They make a good aspirational target.
So you've already got this published resource, and what we showed was from back in 2023. I know that additional drilling has been going on. You're trying to grow not only the size of this thing over time, but also the certainty by infill drilling and getting this thing at some point ready for a development decision. Helping you along, you've got a big brother, a company some might have heard of by the name of Glencore. And Glencore, I think, is pretty hot on your project. And in fact, a lot of other parts of the country, whether it's Nevada, even the Iron Range area in Minnesota, with a couple of major projects, Twin Metals, North Met, Nevada, elsewhere. You guys kind of were forgotten for a while, and all of a sudden, people are looking, and I know Glencore has looked and said, "Holy cow, this thing's a lot bigger and better than a lot of the stuff that's development stage in the U.S."
You're absolutely right. And the mines beside us are known for palladium platinum. I don't think people really understand the scale of what they have. Sibanye deposit runs the whole surface expression of the Stillwater complex, over 30 miles. And then it's 5 miles thick on the surface, right? So this is actually big stuff. These are not little mines. They do actually produce nickel, copper, silver, other things right there in Columbus, Montana. They're just the values are dwarfed by the wealth of their palladium and platinum.
Right.
The mining widths are 1.8 meters wide on average, and that's where they struggle a bit with the mining costs. We're bringing in tens to hundreds of meters, and then we're also bringing in a lot more nickel, copper, cobalt, as well as the PGMs and gold that you mentioned earlier, and that the district is known for. It has been interesting, and I'm very much looking forward to sharing the stage with you in Minnesota because, some light needs to be given to these base metal deposits
Yeah.
in the West. The Duluth complex, that whole Great Lakes area, historically is known for that. But there are some fantastic deposits out west, and Glencore got that, along with other majors we talked to in that same time frame. They saw the size potential. They saw the Platte Reef Bushveld parallels, and they're in. And I would urge your listeners to simply consider companies that already have a major on board because
Right.
the process that we go through to bring them in, their due diligence is thorough on every level. They need to see scale and grade and geology. They also need to see the corporate stuff make sense.
Yeah.
And it weans out sort of 90% or more of the juniors, right?
Well, and I've said to people repeatedly, when we still have, despite what for the most part has been pretty strong metals markets, of course, gold has been the leader. Others have done halfway decent. The platinum and palladium, I'm sure Sibanye-Stillwater folks are happy, has had a nice bounce as well, both of them recently, so that helps them a little bit. But by and large, you know, there's still a lot of little junior explorers out there whose share prices really haven't moved. And even if there's some of our good stories, and I tell people all the time that one of the things you have to do as an investor in that context is see who else has glommed on. Does this company you're looking at, do they have a big brother? Or, I guess we can say, has the U.S. government stepped up? More and more you see some impetus from the administration, whether it's through the Energy Department, through the Defense Department, the Defense Production Act, or some similar fashion. What do you think Stillwater's chances are, Mike, of ever seeing some help as far as that situation is concerned?
Very high.
Okay.
We've been in front of the right people for a while now. We are the partners on DOE grants already, so we're already in the right circles. DoD, usually by way of Defense Production Act Title III, will actually fund what we need to do, drilling feasibility studies, advancing to a mine plan as fast as possible. DOE likes to do beneficiation processing, that kind of thing. That would be an expansion of what Sibanye is already doing in Columbus in one form or another. Both are relevant to us, and we're having all those conversations now. Recently, the current administration stepped up the model by investing not only in Intel but in MP Mountain Pass.
Yeah.
This is a new thing, and it's a very good way to step on the on the gas. You're absolutely right in the intro there. You said that America has offshored too much. we're pulling back from globalization now,
Yep.
and manufacturing, mining, all these things have to come back. The US used to lead in mining,
Mhm.
especially copper mining, other metals as well. Chrome mining historically was from the Stillwater complex. And in the
Right.
40s and 50s, it was actually subsidized by the US government
Mhm.
from right where we are. There's a history of this district, this fantastic world-class geology being recognized for domestic supply.
Yeah.
And we're going to continue that.
Well, there's an astonishing number of stories all throughout the Western U.S. of just what you said, Mike. Mines that were mined for chrome, for lead and zinc over in the Panhandle in Idaho, for tungsten and things like that down in Nevada that haven't seen that mining again since World War II ended.
Yeah.
And those were the mines that produced all the material for war, back then. And now we're realizing we need that material for infrastructure and for energy and for a whole bunch of different things. So besides Glencore, you've also got, and I'll share another slide from your corporate presentation. You've got a few different partners involved, and I know part of your background, as you and I visited over time, is you're in hydrometallurgy. And there's some really cool stuff going on. We're going to talk about some of these things at the expo as well, folks, where a lot of things are going to be processed in years to come that don't necessarily require old-fashioned smelter.
Right.
And that's going to reduce costs. It's going to reduce environmental footprints and so forth. And U.S. Strategic Minerals, I think, is the name of the entity in Missouri. Tell us a little bit about that relationship. That's remarkable.
We have an MOU signed with them. They're really good guys. I see Mike Holloman just speaking recently. He's a good friend of ours. That's us showing the downstream potential of
Hmm.
what we need to show the domestic supply chain, and they could potentially be part of that. They need to show raw material supply, also
Yeah,
domestic, and we would be that part of that
right.
equation. Again, it's all building on what Montana is known for, southern Montana is known for. There's a great industrial base there. And thanks to Sibanye and their good neighbor agreement, there's even very responsible first world mining of materials in that very responsible manner. It's a wonderful legacy to continue. What they're doing in Columbus with Hydromet, they also run a smelter there as well,
Yeah.
is exemplary. And you gave a good summary there. The world in the world of metal processing, there's pyrometallurgy and hydrometallurgy. Smelters are very intensive things to build and operate, and you don't actually have to go that route in the modern world, especially if you're talking about producing metal for alloys or energy storage
Sure.
or whatever. It may not be the most appropriate form. Hydromet is very scalable, smaller environmental footprint. It's a really good fit here.
Mhm. Nice. Lastly, before we go, and you're going to learn a lot more about Stillwater, folks, you can go to their website. We'll have a link for that with the notes to this video. You can come, of course, in person and meet Mike and myself and a few hundred other people who are going to be there. But just before we go, Mike, tell us a little bit about your impression of Better in Our Backyard and how you first got acquainted with them.
First noticed Ryan a couple of years ago. Very good presence, especially on LinkedIn. That's where I found him. And we got to know each other. And like we said earlier, they hadn't really shined the light west at that point. So very happy to have him on site in person just month ago now. And very glad to be attending and reciprocate in Minneapolis in a matter of a month or so. Very impressed with Ryan and his abilities and what he's doing for better in our backyard. And looking forward to being part of that panel.
Well, it's an important mission, and it's one that's a national security imperative, an economic one. A lot of good jobs are going to come as we reshore these industries and all the rest. And you're going to learn all of that and a whole lot more, folks. So, again, if you've not yet registered, make sure you do register to come the 1st through the 3rd of October at the Radisson Blue in Minneapolis, just a hop and a skip from the airport and from the Mall of America. So, Mike Rowley, CEO of Stillwater Critical Minerals, I'm glad you're going to be part of the program, and I'll look forward to seeing you shortly, buddy.
Thanks, Chris. You as well.
Take care.